Hello everyone, and welcome to Day 2 of the second session of Summer School 2018. Today's lesson focuses on the design principle of focal point. The focal point on a project is the main area where you place your image or embellishment. There should typically only be one focal point on a project. I've created 2 quick cards for you today to demonstrate the design concept of focal point. Actually, my projects focus on enhancing a focal point area to really make those focal images pop. So let's get started. My first project shows you how to set off your focal point area with some masking, ink blending, and faux embossing. It features that cutie patootie cow from the Party Animal stamp set. I also did a bit of stamp surgery on a couple of the sentiments from the Fluttering Friend stamp set, and I used the inside and out stitched rectangle stacks Die-namics and a few other products that will be listed in the description below. I'll also be using some Limelight, Periwinkle, and Smooth White cardstock, and 3 of the patterns from the Party Patterns 6x6 paper pack. For my masking, I'll be using the Mask It medium tack masking sheets. I love this stuff because it's super sturdy. Ink blends off of it like butter, and if you're careful, it can be used more than once. It's definitely my go-to masking material. So I started off by die cutting one of the inside and out stitched rounded rectangle stacks Die-namics from the lower right corner of the masking material and adhering it to a 4.5 inch by 5.5 inch smooth white panel. I carefully peeled back a small portion of the liner paper and aligned the upper edges before removing the rest of the liner paper. This is the best way I've found to adhere the masking material and avoid bubbles and wrinkles along the way. I give it a good rub with my fingers to make sure all the edges are intact, and now I'm ready to start ink blending. I'm lightly blending some Twisted Citron Distress ink on the bottom portion of the unmasked area to insinuate grass or ground. And then I add a light blend of tumbled glass on the top portion of the unmasked area to give the impression of sky. This is my favorite way to enhance the focal area for my images because it really helps draw your eye to that focal point. I mean, what's a happy critter scene without some blue sky and green grass? Let's kick that ink blended area up a notch, shall we? I'm taking the same die that I used to cut the aperture from the masking material and inserting it back into that opening. I use the inside edges of the aperture to help me align the die. I just kind of wiggle it around a little bit until the edges of the die align with the edges of the aperture. And then off camera, I ran it through my die cutting machine using an embossing mat and a plate combo for dry embossing wafer thin dies. And then I carefully peel back that masking material away from the image panel to reveal a perfectly blended focal area with a beautiful stitched border around the outside. I love how this looks. Next, I'm stamping that adorable cow image from the Party Animal stamp set onto some Copic-friendly white cardstock using some black licorice hybrid ink because I'll be coloring her with my Copic markers. And then I stamp the same image 2 more times on scraps of pattern paper from the Party Patterns 6x6 paper pack because I plan to do a bit of paper piecing to my image. I'll use my detail scissors to cut out the cow's ruffled neckline and the balloon, and I'll use the coordinating die to cut out the white image. I love you all too much to bore you with my mediocre coloring skills, so I colored my little cow off camera. Using the little letters Die-namics, I die cut the letters to make the word moo 3 times from some white cardstock and once from the same pattern paper I used before. And I've adhered the white letters together with some liquid glue to make a dimensional word. I'm gluing the pattern paper to the letters, balloon, and cow neckline with the same liquid glue. And now I can add these elements to my focal area. I'm adhering the letters with some diamond glazed liquid adhesive. You need a strong adhesive for this so that it holds up in the mail. Off camera, I stamped the sentiment from the Fluttering Friend stamp set using 2 of the sentiments to make 1, thanks to a little stamp surgery. I die cut it using the Stitch Sentiment Strips Die-namics, and I'm adhering it to the image panel using some foam squares. And I'm adhering the assembled cow die cut to the image panel using more foam squares. And you can see that both the sentiment strip as well as the cow image extend beyond the highlighted focal area. But don't fret because that's A-okay in the card design world. Lastly, I added some sweet enamel dots to the image panel as a final detail to my design. My second project also uses light ink blending as a way to enhance and help draw your eye to the focal area. It features the new Painted Poppy stamp set and coordinating dies, as well as the Brushstroke Expression stamp set and the A2 stitched rectangle stacks set 1 Die-namics. I'm also using some smooth white cardstock as well as some white Copic friendly cardstock for my colored images. And once again, I colored my images off camera for your own good. I promise you're not missing a thing. So now I'm lightly blending some tumbled glass onto a 4 1/4 inch by 5 1/2 inch smooth white panel. And you can see that I'm blending only in the bottom right corners. I'm blending out towards the center and slightly along the bottom edge towards the left corner, but not creating a hard line in any one direction. I used the second to the largest die from the A2 Stitched Rectangles Stacks Die-namics to cut a stitched edge around the outside of the image panel, and then I stamped the Miss You sentiment from the Brushstroke Expression stamp set onto the left bottom corner of the image panel using black licorice hybrid ink. And now I can adhere the images from the Painted Poppy stamp set that I stamped, die cut, and colored off camera. I'm adhering them in the ink blended lower right corner with bits of foam tape. Can you see how the ink blending really helps draw your eye to that beautiful red poppy? It grounds the image so that it doesn't look like it's just floating in midair. And as a final touch, I'm adhering some of my favorite sparkling clear sequins with some diamond glaze to add some pretty sparkle to that amazingly beautiful image. And there you have it, 2 quick projects to demonstrate the concept of focal point and how to enhance the focal area to set off your focal point even more. You can find a list of the products that I used on both projects in the description below, and feel free to leave me a comment if you have any questions about what I've done here today. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you learned something about focal points that you can utilize in your own card design. Enjoy the rest of the lessons in Session 2 of Summer School 2018, and have a great day!